Hey listener, and welcome to another episode by Lathwa Learner's Eye. This is that boy again with ideas, and I really love, that when I share ideas, when we communicate, when I'm here and whenever I'm recording, I try to make a person stand in front of me, and I try to provide as much value, as much help, as much communication with you as I can, and I try to make sure that my message is delivered loud and clear, and that's what I actually love doing. And if my meaning for this podcast is to help you, and so if you're a regular listener, and if you're new here, welcome here, and if you're a regular listener, that would really mean to me if you really take a second and go down in the comments on whatever platform you're listening to this. Go down in the comments and provide me with valuable feedback about if my ideas help you or they encourage you to think or anything. That would mean a lot to me. So thank you for doing that. And this episode, our language of learning part 2, actually I did a part from a few days ago, and in that part we discovered how representational systems and understanding representational systems could lead to effective learning, because all of us have different representational systems, and I talked a whole lot about it in the previous episode, and I loved that episode. So I would really encourage you to go watch that episode and then come watch this one, because then you will really get the most out of it. So we talked about representational systems. Everybody has a different representational system, a different way of representing things to us, and in what medium, if we represent, information would get really delivered, and not just delivered, processed, and then understood. And that's what we want in a learning environment, right? We just don't want the lecture, we just don't want them to read, we don't want students to read, we want to nurture them, we want to bring out the best in them. And that's the literal meaning of education. Education comes from the word educator, and educator means to bring out the best in you. And unfortunately, the schools are not doing that. Schools are not bringing out the best, they're taking out the best. And this is what we don't need to do. We need to stop this, and the solution to this is, one solution is understanding representational systems. So very quickly, we have 3 main representational systems. The first one is visual, second one is auditory, third one is kinesthetic. These 3 are main representational system in learning and in perceiving and processing information. Visual simply means someone who understands by seeing pictures, by watching, by using visual sense of him, visual sense of his mind. And the way you teach these learners is very different from the way you teach the other 2. Auditory means that you get the best out of whatever's taught if you listen to it. If you listen someone speak about how great it is, how good it is, whatever value it will provide you, if you listen to it. This podcast is a great example of auditory medium. And then kinesthetic mean that if you are really in the environment, if you really do things, if you really, you don't learn by listening, and you don't even learn by seeing pictures or videos, you learn when you actually do that thing. And the best way for you to learn, for these learners, is to put them into the situation where the things will happen to them, and then they'll respond, and then they'll learn. So it's very clear that the way you teach these 3 kinds of learners, it's very different. And the key to understanding representational system is this: we have 3 out of 5 representational system. We have 3 main. Every human has 3 main representational system which work in the understanding of information, the processing of it. But everybody has one system which dominates. Everybody, you might have heard the phrase that he's a visual person, or he is an auditory person, or he's a kinesthetic person. He feels more. He processes information by feeling it. He touches things and he just feels the texture of them, and he feels how the sensation that they produce on his skin, and then he really learns. So you see, this one system domination and understanding which system dominates is how we can create an effective learning environment. The question is, how do you understand which is the dominating system of a person just by looking at them? And some of you might be thinking that, well, I'm not a mind reader, I'm a teacher, but I'm not a mind reader. I cannot tell how they perceive information, how they process information just by looking at them. You don't have to be a mind reader. I'm not a mind reader. I know nothing about the science or the art or the magic of mind reading. Believe me, I don't know anything about it. I just read about it. I just read about how to know about someone's representational system, and this is very important if you want to convince someone on something. Not just if you want to teach somebody something new, this is important, but if you really want to convince someone, that's important too. If you really want to put someone in a motivated state, or if you want to make someone really feel happy, and you know that his representational system is visual, I'll go with this person and I'll deal with him by making him see pictures and see videos and making him see more. And if when I'm talking with this person, I'll make a lot of body movements, I'll use a lot of visual cues. I won't touch him on the shoulder, and I won't say that I won't put him into a situation where he would have to do things. I would give him information in his world, in his medium, so that he understands it. I won't go and give information to him in how I understand it. So as a teacher, there's another lesson. As a teacher, you have to be flexible, you have to understand, you have to change your approach, and the principle of flexibility applies to all areas of life as well. The more flexible you are, the more happy you are, the more successful you are in general. The more flexible you are with the values, the more flexible you are with the dealing people. This is a great thing. The more flexible you are with dealing people, the more greater communication you'll have. But this is a topic for another podcast, and I believe that this will be coming after this one. So coming back to the question, I know I speak a lot and I speak a lot of things here and there as well, but really I asked a question: how do you know what representational system dominates? It's really simple. You just have to look what a person is doing in the moment. Have you heard the phrase that eyes are the window to the soul? It's a pretty common phrase. I'm sure you have heard it, that eyes are the window to a soul. And this phrase is proved scientifically true as well, because the way, in the position the person places his eyes in the moment, you can know at what representational system is in domination at that time. For example, I'm going to ask you a question and answer it. What was the color of the candles on your birthday cake when you were 10 years old? Come on, thing. You can answer it. I answered it. I'll answer it. Maybe it was blue. But you see, whatever you answer, your answer might be blue, red, green, blah, blah, whatever. But whatever you answer, that's not important. I'm going to tell you something, and you might feel like that I read your mind or I was there with you, but I'm really not. I'm just in this voice, and this is this voice talking with you. I am a human, but this is this voice talking with you right now, and I felt the same when that happened to me. When I asked you the question, most of you looked up and to the left, placed your eyes up and to the left to remember what the color of the candles was. So you see, you got into a visual state because I asked you a visual question. And you can there are 6 different positions in the eyes, and if you really look at the eyes, you can know which system dominates. At this time when I asked you this question, you looked up and to the left, so you were in your visual system. But that takes a lot of observation. So I'm going to give you something easy. If a person's eyes go up, he just access something from his visual memory. If they are like not up, not down, they are mostly in their auditory state. And if they are really looking down, if their head is down, their neck muscles are they're down, it means that he's in a kinesthetic state. So he's feeling more in that state when his eyes are down. You can tell by breath as well. If the person's breathing is high and it's in the chest, it means that they are thinking visually at this time. They are accessing visually. When the breathing is even, it's not from the chest, and it's from the whole chest or the diaphragm. It means that he's auditory right now. He's in an auditory mode. And very deep breathing, like when you breathe really deep, you must have felt it when you are feeling something very deep inside of you, when you are really feeling an emotion, unhappiness or sadness. Your breathing goes, something like this. It goes like this. It means that you're in the kinesthetic mode right now. And the way people speak, you can judge by the tonality of their voice as well. Visual people speak in quick bursts, and they usually have high-pitched, nasal or strained tonalities. And low and deep tonalities and slow speeches are usually kinesthetic. For example, if I start speaking in a very low, and my voice becomes very deep, it means that I am in a kinesthetic mode right now. I can go on speaking like this, but really I'm not in a kinesthetic mode. I don't know which mode I'm in, but I think I'm in the visual mode, and I'm just trying to, there's you standing in front of me, and there's me talking to you, and so I'm in a visual mode. And you can really judge to some extent that what is the mode that I'm dominating in right now by listening to how I use my voice. So these are the things from which you can know what representational system is dominating at the moment. And there are other cues as well. For example, if you see a person is very good at sports, but he's not good in lectures, and he's not good with pictures, meaning that he's a kinesthetic person. And I think that a teacher knows his student this much to judge about him. And because you have spent a lot of time, a teacher has spent a lot of time. The problem in education comes in this. We have 3 different types, and the percentage of kinesthetic learners is the most. I mean, it's 37%, 38%, 30% of people are visual, and then 32% are auditory. 30% are auditory and 32% are visual. You can confirm the numbers. I read about them. I'm not but it's not confirmed. But most of the students are kinesthetic learners. And now, just reflect on how we are taught in our schools, in our colleges, even in our universities. How are we taught? We are lectured. And what is a lecture? A lecture is a one-dimensional thing. Or if you really, it is at the most 2-dimensional. Because if somebody who's speaking and he's really congruent with his body, and he's really expressive with his body as well, then it comes a little bit 2-dimension. But it really never touches the third dimension, which is kinesthetic. It doesn't make people feel. How can we feel if we are just go back to traditional classrooms? You're supposed to sit. You're not supposed to talk. You're not supposed to discuss. You're just there to listen. And our idea of education our idea of learning is that it happens from the neck up. The learning, it does not happen from the neck up, it happens from the feet up. And I heard this TED talk and I loved this saying. It's from that TED talk. Learning does not happen from the neck up, it happens from the feet up. So everybody has a different mode for it. We can't just provide it in one dimension. And the worst thing is when someone doesn't understand, we come up with terms like ADHD, attention deficit disorder, and we come up with sayings like that he's not intelligent, he's stupid, and all that. Albert Einstein said, I love this quote from him too, I love this saying. Albert Einstein said, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So if you judge a kinesthetic learner by the way he is by the way he perceives learning in auditory mode, you are doing a critical mistake, very respectfully, but you are making a mistake, and it's you who has fault. It's not the student. The student doesn't even know that he has this representational system. Most of us don't know, and I I think none of our teachers, most of our teachers, they don't even know as well, because the way we are taught, it's one dimensional. I have not seen that somebody says, or if we are reading a poem about daffodils in literature, the teacher could do these things. For visual learners, he can make him see a video about daffodils, or he can make them see a photo about it, and the bright colors of the daffodils, and how it is on the field, and how it looks. And for the speakers, of course, for the visual auditory learners, not visual ones, for the auditory learners, he can make them listen to the poem in the rhythmic tune, and that would help them learn at their best. And for the kinesthetic one, he can really hand them a daffodil. A teacher can get a daffodil and really hand it them, make it smell them, and then they can smell them, and they can really look at the texture of it, and they can really look how it feels when they hold it in their hand, and this will help in the learning of the poem. So you see, and one question that some of you who are teachers who would be thinking about right now is, how can I provide these 3 modes at the same time? Because I have a class of 40 students, and 20 of them are kinesthetic, 10 are visual, 10 are auditory, so I have to cover all of them in 40 minutes. How can I provide it? The answer is to provide information in all the 3 modes. There is, of course, no better thing than one-on-one interaction, but if you're really communicating in masses, you should provide information in all 3 modes, so that everybody gets the best out of it. And traditional education doesn't promise this. Traditional education doesn't say to you that everybody needs should be fulfilled, everybody demands should be fulfilled. It just says that teach, and that's not the best way. Now that we understand the human mind, that's not the best way. And another thing is that we have confined this idea of knowledge to a pen. I mean, a pen is good, you write, you learn, but what about the kinesthetic learners? What about the visual learners? And the auditory ones as well? Sure, you can write, and you can, it helps all 3 of them, but it's not the best way. It's not the practical way. Knowledge does not mean, and I have seen this many times, that notes, our idea of education these days is, if you want to learn physics, you need to have a lot of physics notes, and then you need to organize them, and then you need to memorize them. And there's this common phrase, memorize by heart. Why do you have to memorize them? It's just understanding. And from physics, it leads me to this. Albert Einstein, when he was coming up with theory of relativity, he imagined himself as a photon going at the speed of light away from his home, and he's looking back at this tower, and he's just observing the clock on the tower and how the time goes. So this helped him come up with relativity. So Albert Einstein was a visual person, so he perceived relativity in a visual way, and that's what helped him become the one of the reason was of him becoming such a genius is because he knew what mode he works in, and he provided information to himself in this way. Now for the students, for the teachers, the thing is provide information in all 3 modes, and try to understand each student of yours, because it's when you're a teacher, teaching is such a beautiful job, and it's such people think that it's a hard job. I'm not a teacher, but I try to, and I don't even try to be one. I'm not your teacher even right now. I just communicate, and I just try to communicate in the most effective way possible, and I just want my idea to get through. So the teacher, what I think of teaching is that it's most beautiful job in planet, and it's maybe it's a hard one too, but it's the most fulfilling job, because there's for me, if I was a teacher, there's the contribution to the students. The students come, and they don't come at school in my class. If I was a teacher, they don't come in my class for learning. They come for learning, but it's up to me to fulfill their needs. It's not up to them to fulfill mine, because that's what I'm hired to do, right? A teacher fulfills his students' needs, and he understands, and he really gets to know what's inside a student's heart, his soul, his mind, and he brings him out, and he makes the student recognize that this is best in you and you need to do this. It's not, a teacher is not someone who orders you and you have to follow those orders because those orders are for your betterment. That's not the idea of teaching that I'm going to go for. A teacher is someone who brings out the best in you, and that's what teaching is about. That's what real teaching is about. It's not about order and command. And for the students, know about your mode. What's your mode? What's your mode of processing? And you can know about it when you're in your normal state and you're talking with the person, and you just go in the back of your head and you observe how you're talking, how you're breathing, where do you look the most. And one of my thing was, when I learned about these moods, one of my thing was that I talk a lot inside my head. Even when I'm walking, even when I'm thinking it loud inside my head, and I'm hearing the conversations very loud and clear. So it gave me an understanding that I'm an auditory learner. I'm also a visual one. I'm also a kinesthetic one. All three modes are there, but there's one system that dominates, and I think that for me it's auditory. And you can figure out by just looking, observing what you do, and you can learn about your domination system, your domination representation system. And when you learn about it, for example, one person's representation system is, let's say, visual, and he wants to learn physics, and he wants to learn that how electrons flow in the current, and how all of that diagrams and all of that is made. And the teacher is telling that this happens, and he's on the board and he's explaining that the electron goes from here and here, and he sees the diagram. The diagram would surely help for the visual learner, but the speaking won't. So it's just a diagram, and it's not like the speaking would help, but you need to provide it in a visual state, in a visual mode. So what that learner could do is he can just take this diagram and he can make it more exciting. He can turn up the juice. And what do I mean by turn up the juice? I mean that he can imagine himself as an electron going through all those circuits, and all of the things, all of the forces that are acting on him, and all of the things that are happening, and that would make him learn more. And for the kinesthetic learners, if they want to learn about force, let's say force, a pretty simple thing, force, mass times acceleration, that's force. And if they want to learn about force, they can take this ball, and they can take this ball on their hand, and they can, with as much force as they can throw it on the wall, and it bounces back and it hits their heads and they die immediately. I don't want you to do that. Please be careful. I was just kidding. So they can take this ball. It would hit the wall. It would come back. Please be sure that it doesn't bump in your head, because safety is a precaution. That's the number one thing. Health's the number one thing. Okay? And it comes back, but you can make sure that it hits a friend's head, but not so hard. You can make him go unconscious. and to teach him a lesson, if you want to. You see, being in a kinesthetic mode makes you really learn, and makes other people learn lesson as well. If you throw a ball hard enough, if you throw an apple hard enough, you'll learn about force. And if you throw it hard enough, you can keep the doctor away as well. See? So this is just, it's not even multi-dimensional, it's multi-dimensional. There are so many dimensions that this can work in. I'm just kidding. The thing is, if you are a kinesthetic learner, you can really be there. You can really experience. And then you can learn the most. And if you're an auditory learner, can listen to a speech about it. You can listen to what other persons have to say about it, what your teacher has to say about it, and what would be this kind of sound, or what would be the sound. If you really want to make it exciting, there are a million ways. You can be creative with your learning mode, but I'm just giving you a basic framework of how this can done. I gave the daffodils example in learning, and there's a poem, Daffodil, by I just forgot the name. I just forgot the name of the poet. He's a pretty famous poet, and he's a romantic poet, I think. I just forgot the name. I'll leave it. So, just as I gave the example of daffodils, then the teacher can provide it in all three modes. So, that's how we can create an effective learning environment using representational systems. That's how we can make learning more fun, more exciting, more juicy, and more effective at the same time. It doesn't have to be, and again, I'd quote this again, that learning does not happen from the neck up, it happens from the feet up. And when you are in an energetic state, your mind responds more, because your mind and the body have a total connection. So make sure teachers can make sure that they are providing information in all three modes. And if somebody is not understanding the concept, remember, a teacher's job is to fulfill the needs of the student, fulfill the needs of understanding of the student, and if there is some bad behavior, remember that every bad behavior has a positive intent. You can change it, you can give him more choices to fulfill that positive intent. And teacher, you see, teaching you have to be really flexible. You have to learn about the student, you have to know about him, you have to come up with creative ways to nurture him, to make him grow. So teaching is really a fun profession. For me, it's fun. I don't know about you. It might seem hard to you, but for me, it's fun, and it gives me a sense of contribution. And it doesn't have to be that you have to be teacher in a college or student. You can be a teacher anywhere. You can teach your kids. You can teach your, you can teach your wife. You can teach anyone. So, actually, this is how we can create effective learning. And for students, it is that know your mode and try to change the information in your mode. That will help you understand things more, and that will help you. By the way, nothing will make learning more exciting until you do it. You practicing it and then converting it in your mode and then practicing it. I'm sure that you'll experience the juice in learning. You'll experience real learning, not lecturing. Lecturing is a whole different medium. You'll experience what real learning is about. And I want you to try it. I want you to really give it a try. Really know about yourself, because knowing about yourself is the number one lesson in life. Know yourself and then be thyself. So that's it. Know yourself. And I'll leave you here. I wish you the best of luck with these modes, with these representational systems. Whatever dominates, change the information in that mode. And I love you a lot. I really love you a lot. And till next time, I'll see you. Till then, have a great life, and may God guide you softly in the palm of His hand.